Hello and welcome to Let Me Be Your Game Guide, a podcast that spends each episode delving into a mystical new video game, exploring its charms and challenges, and helping you decide if it should be next on your list. I'm your host Emma, and with me are my co-hosts Rylan and Sean. Join us for this week's spoiler-free rating episode as we escape reality and enter the metaphysical. For the remainder of this episode, let me be your game guide.
The 11th game. Let's talk about it.
The 11th game on the 11th month. Is this also going to come out in the 11th month?
Yeah.
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 Mm-hmm.
Nice. 11/11. Everyone make a wish.
Okay, I made a wish.
I wish that the neighbors' dogs would go away.
Oh, man.
And go inside.
Okay.
Because they're barking right now, and we're going to pause before.
Moment of silence for the loud dogs. I think we're good. Your wish came true.
They're gonna,
Yeah, nice.
I swear they're going to start barking the second I start talking again. Okay, let's go. All right. Well, today, our 11th game was my pick, and we played the Darkside Detective.
Yeah.
We played the first one. There are two.
Mm-hmm.
The second one is A Fumble in the Dark, but this first one is just the Darkside Detective. So, the Darkside Detective was developed by Spooky Doorway and published by Akupara Games. It's available for PC, Mac, Switch, Xbox One, PS4, PS5, iOS, and Android. It was released July 27th, 2017 for PC and Mac, February 7th, 2018 for Switch, April 21st for Xbox One, PS4, and PS5, and August 8th, 2024 for iOS and Android. So, very recent for the phone.
Yeah.
Yeah. You can get it for $14.99 on PC, Mac, Switch, and Xbox One, for $12.99 on PS4 and PS5, and $6.99 for iOS and Android. So, just a little bit about the developers before we dive into this game. Spooky Doorway was founded in 2015. They're an Irish game studio known for delivering narrative-based experiences with puzzle and exploration mechanics. The Darkside Detective was their first game, released in 2017, followed by the sequel, The Darkside Detective: A Fumble in the Dark, released in 2018. Currently on the horizon for Spooky Doorway is a first-person narrative adventure that blends supernatural and detective genres called Sunken Spectre. This game looks really cool.
Huh.
It's like kind of spooky. It's more, I don't know. It seems like kind of the same mechanics as this game, but it's more three-dimensional. The graphics are more detailed. It's not like an 8-bit style like this one. It looks very cool. It doesn't have a release date yet, but I thought it looked interesting.
Cool.
Sweet.
Yeah, and then a deep sea adventure game that takes place in and around the Mediterranean Sea in the 1970s. This is also a game that's TBA for their release, but totally different style of graphics. It's a little bit more, I don't know, cartoony in a way, but yeah, so looks like much different vibes than the Darkside Detective or Sunken Spectre, but both looked very fun. Credited for this game, we have Dave McCabe. He's credited as the design lead, also credited for writing, development, and QA. And then Teresa McCabe, development lead, design, programming, and QA. Paul Conway, design, art, development, sound effects, and QA. Chris Colton, QA lead, design, development, and sound effects. Ben Prunty, music, and David Fairley, QA. So those are our people that were involved. And that's just a little bit about the developers. So let's get into the game. Do either of you want to give a quick spoiler-free game description?
Sure. Yeah. So you play as you're a detective,
Francis McQueen.
Yes. And you have your trusty sidekick, Officer Dooley, and you guys are on the Darkside division. So you're trying to solve mysteries of the paranormal. So
It's very X-Files.
Yeah, it's
yeah,
like
for
very,
sure.
very
Definitely
X-Files.
X-Files with a lot of humor involved in it. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a lot of funny humor. And you're trying to like puzzle based, 8-bit, I don't know, like
Point and click.
Yeah, point and click adventure game. Like you're trying to like oh gosh. You're trying to just solve mysteries that are happening on the bright side is what they call it, and that's the living side. And the dark side is the afterlife or the paranormal side.
Yeah, and the game's broken into like different cases. So you'll be dropped into a situation, and that's the case. And then you solve that mystery, and that's the end of that story. And then you'd go to the next one. So
Yeah.
It's like an anthology style game,
yeah.
which I thought was cool.
I liked that as well.
Yeah, it was fun.
Yeah. So let's just get into our rating now that we've talked about the game a little bit. We take into account general considerations such as length, challenge rating, and replayability. We also consider story and narrative topics, including plot, characters, world building, and content variety, presentation topics, including graphics, sound design and music, and mechanics. And lastly, we consider the overall value of this game. So for general considerations, we'll start with length. How long did it take you guys to complete this game?
I didn't. So there's 6 cases to the original game, plus 3 bonus cases. I finished 7 out of the 9 cases, and it took me roughly 7 hours. So it was about an hour a case, roughly. Some were a little bit quicker, some were a little bit longer, but I would say roughly around 7 hours from where I landed.
Mm-hmm.
I got all 9 done in 7 hours, roughly.
Okay.
So a little faster than you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got all 9 done in 8 hours, but I am doing a little bit of math because there was one case in particular that I took a really long time because I was taking notes. So it shows that it took me 10 hours, and I was like,
Wow.
yeah, you'll have to listen to our next episode because we'll talk about it, and there might be some dice rolls that happen, so you guys can get randomized titles, I guess is what I'll just say. Yeah, but we'll talk about it on our next week's episode.
Yeah, most of these cases took me like 45 minutes is what I wrote down for a lot of them, but there's also one that took me 8 minutes and another that took me like over an hour.
Was it the 8th one?
Yes.
Yeah. I don't even know why that one existed.
I didn't even get that one. Why? I was going to do that one. That was the next one on my list.
You probably could have done it. I mean, it was quick.
It was real fast.
Yeah.
So, moving on to challenge rating, our scale starts at beginner and then goes to easy, moderate, difficult, and it tops out at expert. Where did you guys put this?
This is tricky. It really varied on the case for me because some of them I just was smooth right through it and, explored what there was to explore and kind of knew what to do next and where to go. Other ones I had no clue.
Yeah.
Like I got stuck. I actually ended up using a website for some of this. It was like nicegamehints.com or something like that. I know it was Nice Game Hints. I don't know if it was .com or what it was, but and that website did a good job of like giving you just tiny little hints to push you in the right direction. I didn't use it a ton. I think I used it on 2 different cases just when I got stuck, but when I needed it, I really needed it. Like there was some times where I would go back and like click on every little thing, combine every item I could not figure it out. So
yeah,
that was frustrating. But other than that, I would say it's like a medium.
Yeah, I put myself as like a easy to moderate because some cases it was like, oh, I got this, boom, 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 and I totally knew what to do. Some cases it's like, oh yeah, I'm clicking on everything, I don't know what to do, like where am I going here? So yeah, I would say moderate is probably a good rating.
I put it at beginner.
Oh man.
Well, not because I thought that they were easy, because there were some times where I was like, I am stuck, but I felt like you could always brute force your way out of it by combining every single item, going back and clicking on every single thing. But I will say there was one time that I could not figure it out, and it was because I just hadn't clicked on one thing. I just never realized I could click on like one thing.
Yeah.
And so I probably should bump it up to an easy, because I was between beginner and easy, mostly just because it's like super simple mechanics and you don't really have to be good at video games to be able to play it. I feel like anyone, like even like I try to think of it like if I were to hand my mom this game, how would it go? And
Sure.
I think she would have a pretty easy time, but you're right. The puzzles themselves, not even puzzles, but like unraveling of the mystery, there were some spots that were really easy to get stuck.
Yeah, I think you had to you kind of had to pay attention to what people were saying or what was in the room or what was interactable sometimes. And then you kind of had to retain that knowledge. Sometimes you'd have to go back to a room that you haven't been to for a long time to like interact with something that didn't seem useful at first.
Yeah.
You had to be a little bit creative at times as well. So I didn't think that I always think about it like not your mom, but I think about how would a 7-year-old do? Like, would they be able to get through this game? I don't think so.
Yeah, I guess that's true. But I also think of my mom as maybe like a 7-year-old game player when
it comes to video games.
Yeah.
Sure.
No, not really. I need to give her more credit because she played Myst, so.
She's climbing the ladder in COD and everything.
Prestiging over here.
Yeah.
No. So yeah, I'll move it up to an easy. It's probably unfair to put it at beginner. That would be false advertising.
Yeah, just moderate for me because I'm a dummy.
No.
Also dummy over here. So.
No, and that's fine. I just, some people are dummy.
Yeah.
It's okay. It's okay to be dummy, folks.
Yeah.
Well, next we'll talk about target audience. The ESRB rating for this game is T for teen. There is blood, mild violence, suggestive themes, and use of tobacco. I thought that this game was appropriate for anyone who just really likes a mystery and puzzles. Also those who indulge in sci-fi crimes such as The Twilight Zone, Twin Peaks, and The X-Files. There's just so many nods to different things in this genre that aren't video game related. This game is full of references. I mean, the whole game is almost a reference. And we'll talk about it in next week's episode because I have a bunch of notes on all the references that there were, but yeah, if you're into this genre at all,
it's kind of like a love letter to it all, but
yeah.
I don't think that you have to know all the references to like have a good time with it either. Just the comments that the characters say about things are just so funny.
Yeah. Well, and also the way that it's made with the anthology of it all, I think it makes it really good for anyone who doesn't have a ton of time to sit down and grind through a long game. I loved the way that it was built because I could bring my Steam Deck to work and just solve a case on my lunch and then come home in the afternoon and solve another case after dinner and then still have time to spend time with my family and it wasn't taking over my life. I didn't have to sit and grind through a game. It was so easy to set down, pick back up.
I think this is also the style of game that's good for maybe couples or a couple friends to hang out and just casually play this and it's kind of like watching an interactive TV show that's funny. You're just going through the mystery and you can chat about what you might want to do next and things like that. It's relaxing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you guys nailed it. The target audience for sure. And yeah, I feel like I could hang out with my friends because just the characters alone and the interactions that they have between the dark side or just people in general is just so funny. I was finding myself laughing out loud many a time with just the comments that were made and the characters that ensued. So
yeah, I mostly played by myself, but when other people were in the room, I was like, hey, look at what they said. Isn't that funny? I wanted to share it with people. So
yeah. Well, the last section of our general considerations will be replayability. Do you guys think this game is replayable? I didn't.
Yeah, I'm going to say probably not. Once you finish the cases, you kind of got the gist of everything and you've heard all the comments and all the things. Unless you really enjoyed it and you wanted to do it again. But I think I would be done after the one session.
Yeah, I think once you've played through all the cases, I don't really feel like I need to go back.
Yeah, and I feel like this, again, I think I've said this with other games, but the enjoyment that I got out of this game the first playthrough, kind of discovering all of the references, and all of that is super fun the first playthrough, but I would have to go a very long time without playing this game
Yeah.
to play it again and still have this like, oh my gosh, that's awesome type of reaction, and to forget how to solve all of the puzzles because
I mean, I think that's like the big one for me is like, I would start to remember like, oh yeah, then you do this and this and this. But it's those like little moments of interaction you have with things or like items you find that are silly that I feel like brings the fun. It's not like, oh, I solved the case. It's like, oh, met this ridiculous character.
Now we'll move into the first portion of our number rated section. We rate things from 1 to 5, 1 being the worst, 5 being the best. We'll start with plot. Where did you guys rate the plot of this game?
I think it's challenging in a game with this style that's like anthology because there's only very loose connections between each like case as you go through. There's not really like an overarching plot, but there are characters that kind of you meet and then they pop up later and different things like that. So I feel like the plot for me is a 3. I was interested in what was going on a lot of the time. But I feel like if there was some more like connection throughout or like a part A and part B and like, or maybe a greater story, that would have sold me on a little bit more. But I was interested each time when when you start the case, it tells you like in a sentence what the situation is. And I was like, oh, okay. Like I'm into it, so, but just a 3 for me.
I would probably do the same. Yeah. I mean, you get a small part of the story in each case, but yeah, there's no like overarching theme outside of you're trying to stop, the dark side from coming in and trying to prevent people from doing that. So, but overall, each case had a little bit of a story and it was a lot of fun. You do meet characters that you see later on in different cases. So, but yeah, there wasn't like a huge overarching story or anything. So I'd say 3.
Yeah, I gave it a 2. For the same reason that you guys gave it a 3. Just there's not a lot of plot going on. It's an anthology, so I don't think it's a bad thing, especially for the way that the game is laid out. But plot was,
Yeah, this game kind of felt like a sitcom almost, where it's like,
Yeah.
it's like every episode stands alone, has its own little situation within the same world and the same characters, but like it kind of resets after that, and very rarely is there a callback to what happened previously.
Yeah.
Well, next we'll talk about characters. I rated the characters at a 4. I thought about a 5, but I just don't think it was quite there yet for me, so I gave it a 4. I just thought that the dialogue for almost all of the characters were hilarious, especially your partner, Officer Patrick Dooley. He was my favorite.
He was awesome.
He's so funny.
Made a point. Every new area I went to, I would click on him to see what he had to say.
I always clicked on him first.
Oh
I was
my
like, Dooley,
gosh.
tell me what you see.
Yeah.
Listen to the next episode because I wrote down a bunch of quotes.
Yes.
I don't know if you guys wrote down any quotes, but
Some.
Oh my gosh, they're just priceless. And not just Officer Dooley, he just had a lot of good ones. So I gave it a 4. I also really liked, and you've talked about it already, but that certain characters do pop up in different cases. And I think that really helps tie the cases and the world together. Even though there isn't a ton of plot intertwining, the characters intertwine. And that is what married all of these cases together, because 4 cases down the line, you'd be like, oh, I met you in like case 2.
Yeah.
So I liked it.
And it's kind of fun too. Like, I feel like these characters have personality. And so you're like, oh my God, that guy's here. Or like, oh, that's cool. They're here. Like, that's cool.
Yeah.
For me, I think it is maybe a 3. I did enjoy the characters. They were all like pretty ridiculous and funny, but I think for me, there wasn't really anybody that like Dooley. I agree. Officer Dooley was the best. And I did love how like at the first case, I thought that he was like annoying and that you didn't like him. But then like, as you go through the game, you kind of see that like him and McQueen, who you play as, like actually have this like long-term beautiful friendship. So that was fun, but nobody really stands out as like such an iconic character that I love otherwise. So it's just a 3 for me. They were fun, but nothing crazy.
I would say like 3.5, just because of the interactions that you do have are just so funny. They're all those characters, and it doesn't matter who it is. There's always some like quick, retort or some, funny saying that they're saying. Like it's always something, and it's very slapsticky, which I appreciated. So yeah, would say 3.5, but I agree, ditto to what you guys have already said. So
Next, we'll talk about world building. This one was a little tough for me as well. What did you guys rate the world building?
I would say like 2 or 3, maybe 2. I mean, you get only because of the way that it's laid out, because of you're only getting little snippets of what the world is. You're not really living in the world or experiencing the whole thing. You're just getting little points of what Twin Lakes is. So, yeah, I would say probably a 2, maybe 3.
That's fair. I feel like I'm kind of on the opposite end of the spectrum. I'm like a 4.
Oh.
And I think it's because like the dark side was so intriguing to me. Like there is one of the cases you go into the dark side briefly, and it's basically like a mirror version of the bright side, which is like the real world. And I just thought that was really fascinating, and how it's like almost a casual relationship between these worlds that like some people know about and some people don't. And there was like all of the I guess like paranormal stuff I thought was fun and like a little bit subversive. And like, I don't know how the characters like kept coming back. I don't know. I just kind of liked the world that was being built, and I wanted to know more about it and have more adventures here.
That's a great point.
Yeah, I'm right in between you guys. I gave it a 3. I actually originally gave it a 2, and then I was like, no, it really deserves more than that, because you do get this whole other like upside down almost, and like you're on the dark side division, and you did you mention the bright side division?
Oh yeah, there's a detective that is like kind of your duplicate.
Yeah,
and he's on the bright side
Yeah.
division.
There's also another Officer Dooley.
Yeah,
The dark side division too. Yeah.
Yeah, so I liked the added and the lore you get of all of the supernatural things that are happening in the world. I just really liked it. So the world itself wasn't fleshed out a ton, but you do get like enough bits and pieces in each case that it really anchors it to a certain spot. So
yeah, and like through the conversations, and every time you click on something, the character comments on things. Like through that, you do start to get like references to other things that like, oh yeah, and this is from when this happened or whatever. Like, oh, that's the urn that was purchased at that antique store where we solved this other case at.
Yeah.
So
That's true.
It really like references things that are outside of the case you're in, and things like that in a fun way that makes the world seem bigger than the I guess like 9 areas you're in a case. So
yeah.
Well, and lastly, in our story and narrative section, what did you guys rate the content variety? I rated it a 3. This, I think, could be controversial because the gameplay itself is extremely repetitive. Just the way that you play the game is repetitive. But I think that the anthology style of this game and just switching up of the storylines and the characters and kind of
and the setting.
Yeah, the setting. I think that added enough variety that I didn't get tired of it at all. And I wasn't tired of the gameplay, even though it was the same in each case. So I didn't really mind it. And so I gave it a 3, even though you could argue that there's not a ton of content. I don't argue it that way, but so I gave it a 3.
I'm with you. A 3 for sure. Like it was kind of like, again, like a sitcom where it's like, oh, this is the episode they're at the mall, or this is the episode they're at the summer camp, and this is the episode where they're just like at somebody's house. So that was fun that it like kind of mixed that up, and what the heck the case was different every time. So
yeah, I would also agree with a 3. It did provide a lot of variety though, because within each case you're going to different locations, there's different puzzles, there's different things you're trying to solve. The gameplay is repetitive, like you were saying, Emma, and but yeah, I didn't feel like I was tired of it or bored of it. It was all just fun. So I think the characters kind of help with that too. So
yeah, cool. Now we'll move into presentation, and we'll cover graphics first. What did you guys rate the graphics?
I'd say a 3.5. I really liked the coloring and what they did on the dark side of things, how that looked. And also there's times where there's very vibrant lights and things when they're having like portals to the dark side. So I really enjoyed that. Even though it was 8-bit, they did a really good job with that. So I would say, 3.5 or so.
I gave it a 3. I'm a sucker for these styles of games. I love the like pixelated, not a ton of detail, but somehow a lot of detail, but not very much detail. Like it's just hard to beat this because I don't know. I love it. I'm biased, I think. I gave it a 3. I don't think it deserved any higher because it's not anything extraordinary, but I think it worked well, especially with like the comedic style and the lightheartedness of the game. I thought that it fit.
Yeah, I think it complemented like the vibe of the game very well, the like pixely style. I think it was good for the pixely style, but it wasn't like anything special, I don't think. So I think a 3 is apt.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, next is sound design and music. I think this was my favorite part of the game.
The music was good.
It was good.
Yeah, it was good.
Yeah.
Yeah, in the different areas, I thought the music was great, and also the sound effects that came along with it. Like, sometimes when you're out camping, there was bugs that were by the lights, and you could hear them buzzing around, or just different sound effects were really well done. So, yeah, I thought good.
Yeah, the music was like had a lot of ambience to it. It wasn't often like a song was playing necessarily, but there was like definitely like a main tune.
Yeah.
I feel, and it was like electronic and not X-Filesy, but kind of in the same vibe of like spooky.
Yeah.
Yeah, probably a 3 for me.
Same.
I gave it a 4, but
Nice.
I was just vibing. I liked that each case had its own theme to it. So not only was the case a theme, but the music kind of
I didn't even
complemented
notice.
it.
I gotta get some headphones on myself. Man,
You want to take those home?
no.
Yeah. Maybe I'm lying. Maybe it wasn't different for every case, but I'm pretty sure it was. Now I'm second guessing myself. I can't unsay it now.
It's locked in.
Yeah, it's there.
I can't even edit it out.
Yeah, because we're doing this live.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, last part of our number rated section, mechanics. What did you guys think of the mechanics?
It was fine.
Yeah.
It was you just click basically, and you click and drag things together. It was good. The other thing that you can do is I was using mouse and keyboard, but you could press tab and it would like kind of highlight anything that you could interact with.
What?
Oh, that's cool.
Sneaky.
It was very useful. I wish that you kind of had you press it and they would like blink twice. And then you had to like press it again. I wish you could just hold it down because, if there's like 8 or 10 things in the area to select, like usually you move your mouse around and it'll show what you can click on, like so you can see if you've, I already clicked on the frog or whatever.
Yeah.
But the tab was nice to find those things that you weren't sure if you had found or not. Yeah, so it was fine. Nothing special. It was a 4. It was effective.
I also gave it a 4. I know that I originally gave Arranger a 3 because I was like, it was so simple. And then I was like, oh, wait, that's like
Winning.
That's the good.
Yeah.
That's the point of it. So with this one, I did also give it a 4 because it's just point and click. And I will say, if I played the entire thing on my Steam Deck, I probably would have stayed at a 3 because this game was not as smooth playing with joysticks. When I switched over to mouse and keyboard, well, literally just mouse because I wasn't using the fancy tab trick. But it was so much easier.
Bye, bye, bye.
We're going to take a moment of silence for Ryland's fidget that he just lost behind the couch.
Another one lost behind the couch.
Do you want me to grab you one?
Thank you.
All right, now that everyone has their fidgets again. Did we finish talking about mechanics?
I need to talk. I need to say words.
All right, talk, Sean.
I would give this a 3 because I was on my Switch the entire time. And so with using the joysticks, it was a little bit more difficult. I didn't have fancy tabs to show me where stuff was at, which is pretty slick.
Get good, Scrubs.
Yeah. So it was a lot of like just scrolling around. I wouldn't say like the game sucked because of that. It was still a lot of fun and it was still playable and no issue. But yeah, it just made it would be easier if you had just a mouse where you could click on things and move on.
I can't believe you guys play with joysticks. I feel like I'd be tearing my hair out, honestly.
I didn't realize. I think it's because people don't know, but I built my PC. I have a PC now.
You can see that on our Twitch, or not our Twitch, on our TikToks.
Yeah, they know because they saw the TikTok.
Yeah.
That's right. The 8 people that saw it.
Yeah, they're all...
yeah, if you go on TikTok, I did a 3-part time lapse of me building my gaming PC. And I haven't had a PC since I was like a child, like a wee baby. I was a console kid, and then I was a handheld kid. And then that was it.
Laptop lady.
Yeah.
I had a laptop for like a second and I hated it. I did not like my gaming laptop. I gave it to my brother. So
yeah,
he got a free gaming laptop that I think he also hated. So.
Oh, really?
Oh.
Yeah.
I remember when you bought that. You were so excited.
I was.
Yeah.
You bought it on a whim on your lunch break.
At Costco. Yeah. But now I have a PC and I'm really excited about it. And I played on it for the end of Darkside Detective, and I was just like, wow.
I love that you built like a high-powered gaming PC to play these like
I know
28-bit. Yeah.
Well, I'm hoping to be able to stream on it soon. So I did need a little bit of a beefier computer so I could game and stream at the same time. Probably not as beefy as I made it, but
I mean, you're just ready for the future.
Yeah, for sure. That's really all it means.
64-bit games.
Yeah.
Getting
crazy.
Yep. So anyways, so we're to the end here. We're just going to talk about the value. Did you guys think that this was worth, did we all pay $15? Did we all pay $14.99? Maybe I got it on sale, but sorry.
I got it on sale for like $3 maybe, and I got the sequel also for like an extra $1.
Yeah, I got it on sale, but we'll pretend like we paid full price for it. Is this worth $14.99?
Wait, was it $14.99 or was that for PlayStation?
That was for PC, Mac, Switch, and Xbox One.
Oh, I think I paid the full price, and I think it was $20 for both. For the Fumble and Darkside Detective. Okay. I would say yes. I've enjoyed it. I've had a lot of fun with it. So, I mean, if you got it on a sale where you only got it for like $5, steal. Like, that's sweet.
Crazy.
Oh, yeah. At the price I got it for, absolutely.
Yeah.
Honestly, though, at $14, I'm a little iffy.
Really?
I had fun, but I don't know, man. I don't know if this is the one for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's okay. I would pay $15 for this.
Yeah.
This is very my speed though. This is my style. I love the graphics. I love the point and click. I love it reminds me of like old computer games that I would play, like the escape room computer games. I don't know if you remember those where you'd be like stuck in a room and you just had to like click on things until you could solve different sections of it.
Yeah.
I love those games. So anything like that I like. So I would pay $14.99 for this. Yeah. But if you're playing on PlayStation or iOS, it's $6.99 or it's $12.99 and $6.99. So
yeah,
there are cheaper options.
I think it was the comedic value because I laughed my butt off many a times.
I also laughed out loud.
Yeah, because of things that were said in the game. So yeah, I'm okay paying the price because it was just a lot of fun. I really enjoyed it.
Well, that brings us to our final rating. I think my final rating for this game is a 3.3.
I think about a 3.1. I think that if I had played with my partner, it would have been boosted immensely. It's not really the sort of game I play by myself. However, because of that anthology style where the cases are split up, I think if I wasn't trying to finish this for the podcast and I could just like open it up once every couple of weeks and play a case when I feel like it, I'd probably enjoy it more at that speed.
Definitely.
But all 9 in, a 2-week span, a little much for my taste, I think.
Sure. Yeah, I would probably say like 3 even.
Okay.
Like, yeah, sure. I would agree. Like, doing the cases back to back to back was a lot, but it was still a lot of fun. I really enjoyed it. So
yeah, very entertaining. Like funny. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. This also reminded me of a game that would be great to take like on a long trip, like when you're traveling.
Yeah.
If you were gonna sit down and play it in one setting, I think that if you were like on a long flight and spending a lot of time in the airport, for some reason in my head, this just feels like a good game to play in that environment. I don't know why.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's like, it's not action or anything like that. So it's like you can be aware of your surroundings. You could be like having a conversation with someone.
Yeah.
It's fine if you get interrupted.
Yeah.
This concludes the spoiler-free episode for the Darkside Detective. Please join us next week for the spoiler-filled discussion episode as we dive into the details of this game and all its hidden gems. If you haven't played the game yet, and this sounds like something you may be interested in, I hope you find some time to play it before tuning in next week. Please go and give the podcast a follow and a 5-star review if you like what you heard. You can email us with any comments, questions, or constructive criticism at letmebeyourgg@gmail.com. You can also send us any game requests if there's something you would like us to review. You can find us on Instagram as letmebeyourgg. Our Patreon can be found at patreon.com/letmebeyourgg. And we're also on TikTok as Let Me Be Your Game Guide. Thank you for listening. We can't wait to see you next week. And thank you so much for letting me be your game guide. GG, y'all.
Bye.
Bye.
What if a hand just came out and grabbed you?
Yeah.
It'd be crazy.